Good morning, everyone, as it's still morning here, and thanks for joining us today. I'm going to just I just have a few slides. I want to, we've kind of been through the welcome and introduction. The first thing I want to tackle is our objectives, just so that you'll understand what we're hoping that you come out of this session with. I'm also going to have one slide that just talks about, it's a glossary, it's definitions of CRM terminology, and I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page when I'm going through the process demonstration that I'm going to show you today. And then we're going to kind of graphically look at a sample dynamic CRM sales process. So that you can actually, I'm going to show you graphically what we're going to do, and then we're going to go actually into Dynamic CRM and go through that process. And once we're done with that, I'm going to hand things over to Brian, and he's going to talk about the SysPro integration with Dynamic CRM. So our objectives today is we have two. The first is for you to become familiar with Microsoft Dynamics CRM. For many of you, this is probably your first time seeing Dynamics CRM, and so we just want to make sure that you come away with a good handle on what's possible. The other objective is to understand the benefits of Dynamics CRM and SysPro together as an integrated solution. So hopefully, by the time we're finished today, you'll have a good understanding of both of those objectives. So starting off with our glossary here, so we're going to look at each of these activity types and processes, or record types and processes as we're going through our webinar today. The first one is a lead, and that's a potential customer who has not been qualified by your sales process. Sometimes you'll hear it called your list, or it's just people that you want to stay in contact with, but they're not necessarily customers. They're not necessarily qualified enough through your sales process to really track them in detail. And so that in the CRM world is called a lead. The next record type is an account. And I will tell you that some of our clients don't use leads. They only use accounts. And so you can definitely, an account is a company that your organization does business with. So you could have different account types, and one of your account types might be lead or prospect. So you could skip that whole lead scenario if you need to. But notice it doesn't say under account, it doesn't say customers, because it's not necessarily a customer. It can be a supplier, a vendor. It can be the bank. It can be anyone that you do business with, any company. And then within each account, you can have multiple contacts. And that, so in our scenario today, Socius would be the account, and then Yvette and Tammy would be contacts within that account. SysPro would be an account, and then Brian would be a contact within that account. So just to kind of frame it. And then there's activities, and we'll see this today quite a bit in CRM. Activities are really what drives your processes in a CRM solution. So those are ways that you interact with your leads, with your accounts, with your contacts. And so those might be tasks, phone calls, emails, appointments, any sort of interaction that you have with the individuals in your CRM application. We'll also look at an opportunity, which is a potential sale. And so that's something that's qualified far enough that I've got a dollar value and a time frame associated with it. You will hear me talk quite a bit about workflow. And that's really just the automation of a business process. It's managing your sales process through activities, updating your opportunity status based on the activities that have been completed. But it's automated. And so you'll see a little bit about that today. And then integration, and that's passing data between two applications. So notice I didn't say sharing data. We're actually passing the data between the two applications. All right. So we're going to talk about sales today, and we're going to focus on sales. Keep in mind, and the only reason that we're doing that is just because of time. There's just not enough time in what we have allotted for today to go through all of the capabilities of Dynamic CRM. So we're going to start with sales. Keep in mind that there is also a marketing component to Dynamic CRM, and there's also a customer service component. And so in the marketing component, you can manage marketing campaigns and marketing lists and things like that, track your profitability and your ROI against a specific marketing campaign. And then in the customer service area, you can actually have cases, knowledge base relating to those cases. You can even schedule technicians to go out in the field and work with your customers in a service capacity. So, but for today, we're going to talk about sales. And so the process that we're going to be looking at is going to start with a lead. And we're going to take that lead through a process and qualify it. And in the course of qualifying that lead, we're going to create an account, a contact, and an opportunity. And then from that opportunity, we're going to have quotes, orders, and invoices. And so you can see, definitely see areas here where Dynamic CRM could talk to SysPro in the area of the account and your customer in SysPro. Those documents, the quotes, orders, and invoices that you're currently processing through SysPro, and so you can see how those might be able to land back in SysPro and come back the other way as well when we're talking about potentially an invoice. So Brian will get into that in more detail, but this is the process we're going to walk through, and kind of overlaying all of this information that we're going to be collecting and moving through this process is activities and workflow. All right, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to jump in here, and we're going to start our CRM demo. Now, one thing I want to point out is that I am in Microsoft Outlook. You do have multiple options in how you access Dynamic CRM. You can access through a browser. So, and incidentally, I am using the online version of CRM. You can also access Dynamic CRM through a mobile device. So I have an iPad sitting here, and I can get to my CRM using my iPad as well. But what I'm doing is I'm using Microsoft Outlook. This is a logical place for users to access contact information. And the thing that's nice about using Outlook is you don't have to enter data twice. So for example, if we're looking here in my email inbox, and this is just my normal Outlook reading pane that I have open here, I can see that Clint Barton would like a quote, and I can see there's this yellow box here that tells me that this is CRM, and it's being tracked in CRM. And I can also see that this extra area in my action pane up here at the top for CRM. What happened is the first time Clint sent me an email, I tracked it in CRM. And now every time I have my system configured so that every time I get an email from Clint, it's automatically associated to his record. And if I want to, I can click in and open that CRM record if I choose to. So any changes that I make, whether it's in Outlook or I do it through CRM, they're all tracked and they're all synced up. And one thing that's really great about using Outlook as your client is you can actually go offline. So you can take your data offline, get on a plane, and then when you go back online after being offline, it's just like with Outlook. It'll sync everything up for you. So in addition to email, I can also, I'm just going to come down here in my, my normal Outlook, my navigation pane here. I'm just going to click on the calendar. And you can see here, I have an appointment here for lunch with Al at Applebee's. And so if I open that appointment, I can see this is regarding Al's Toy Barn. So this is an account, and so I'm having lunch with Al, and if I were to look at his account record, I would see this appointment. The same for contacts. So you can see here's Clint Barton in my contacts. Here's Al from Al's Toy Barn. So you can see all of the contacts here as well. Again, these are synchronizing as I'm changing and updating data. The other reason, or one other reason why it makes sense to access Dynamic CRM from Outlook is that I don't have to leave Outlook to work in CRM. So, you know, here I am in all of my email, and if I just keep moving down my navigation pane, I can see in my workplace, I'm going to just roll this down a little bit, all of the CRM-related information, and down here even into the sales area, which, as I mentioned, is where we're focusing today. So I'm going to come here to leads. And one thing, if you're used to using Microsoft Outlook, you know how easy it is to change the view that you have of the information. So these are leads, and remember, these are maybe a good example here. I imported these from a trade show. I can import into any record. So I imported this list from a trade show, but remember, a lead is unqualified. So these are just people that I want to stay in contact with, maybe market to them on a regular basis. And so what I want to know, let's say I'm going to be making a trip here, and I want to know who's in Washington. So I'm going to come here and just move some of these fields off. Again, remember, this is just Outlook here. And I'm just going to right-click and choose to add columns. And we're going to add the state or province column. So now I can see the states for all of these leads. And now I want to know everyone, let's pick Washington, everyone who is in Washington. So I'm just adding a filter. So now I've got a list here of all of my leads that are in Washington. And this is great, but what if I want to save this? Because I'm going to access it later. Remember, I'm going on a trip. I can come up here and say, these are my Washington leads. And so now it's saved this filter and this view. And when I come back next time, you can see these are all of my system views, which you can control with security. You can set up new system views. But I also have my own personal view that I created. And so this is a way, this is kind of that first pass at reporting. We're seeing more and more of our clients use these views instead of printing a report because you can really get the information that you want. So I'm going to do one more thing here. If I'm going to be making a trip to Washington, I think I want to call all of these people and let them know I'm coming. So I'm going to add a quick campaign, and I'm just going to add it for all of these records. And it's going to open up a wizard for me, and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to call this, we'll call this January Washington trip. And I can set up an activity. In this case, I'm going to do a phone call, and I can decide who it's going to be assigned to. I'm going to assign it to myself. And then I can add the script. So January Washington trip. And so here here's the script for the call. I can put a due date. I can put a time frame on this. And now I have created 5 phone calls assign to whoever it was I indicated they needed to be assigned to call and let them know that I'm going to be coming to Washington should we be getting together. And so if I look, maybe I want to look at Scott Connorsman here. I can look at the open activities. I might have here's my Washington trip. It just created this for me. But I can also see this in my workplace, in my activities. And so this is really where all the action happens, because this is where all of your activities are. So here's my January Washington trip. Maybe I want to add a note. I left a message. And you can see I have my reading pane open. It's updating it here. And then when it's complete, I can just mark it complete. Once the call's been made and I've done whatever it is I need to do, and I can move on to the next one. Just like with the leads that we saw, I can filter this. I can set up my own special views. Here are new leads that I need to call. So these are all new lead phone calls that I need to make. These also, incidentally, are tasks in Outlook. So if I take this offline, I can still work. Mark them complete, do whatever it is I need to do, add notes, and when I sync back up, they'll update and be current. So that's kind of how you can use Outlook to drive CRM and CRM processes. I'm going to move here, still staying in my workplace. I'm going to come into this dashboards area. Now you'll see, you might see this help area here. This is a place where you can personalize CRM for your users. And so all of the help and videos and things come out of the box, of course, but you can actually add your own as well. So making it a little bit easier to get users up to speed. So I'm just going to, for what we're doing today, I'm just going to hide this. So this is my one of the dashboards in Dynamic CRM. I'm just going to click down on this here so you can see the dashboards actually cover all of the functional areas in CRM, and these are the ones that come out of the box. I can create my own as well, and we'll look at those in just a minute. But just to start with, I want to show you, some of the capabilities of these dashboards. So these aren't just pretty pictures. You can actually interact with this information. So for example here, I've got a sales pipeline, and these are all of the open opportunities. And in this example, maybe I'm a sales manager. And I want to look at everything. It looks like my biggest phase here is my prospect phase. Keep in mind that these are just sample processes, so and pipeline phases. Yours might be different. I'm just going to click here, and I want to analyze this based on the estimated close date. So what I really want to see here is by month, what can I expect to close? And so I can see in December I have $150,000 in that prospect phase. And then I've got $25,000 in May. And as a sales manager, I'm going to look at this and say, holy cow, I have $150,000 that's supposed to close this month. Why is it still in the prospect phase? So I've quickly and easily identified something that I need to manage. I can ignore everything else, but I can definitely identify that, and I can continue to drill in if I want to. Another way to approach this, kind of a more transactional way, is to go into kind of a list mode. And what this allows us to do, I'm just going to roll this up here, is look at, in this case, our pipeline. And I can click on any of the phases in that pipeline, and it's going to show me the, in this case, my opportunities that are that comprise that phase. So here's that $150,000 opportunity, and there's more information here. The rating's cold, but probability 75%. So something's happened in my sales process. The data's not updated correctly. The salesperson hasn't been updating it properly. Maybe I need to apply some workflow so that I can understand and be comfortable with the data that I'm looking at to make sure that it's correct. But that's just another way that you can look at your information. So you can see there are a lot of dashboards, like I mentioned, that just come with CRM. You can also create your own. And so I have mine here. Keep in mind I'm the only user in my CRM system, so my pipeline is my pipeline. But there's some other information that's available here as well, like my goals. So here I have an annual revenue goal, and I have an actual of $514,000 that I've actually closed this year. I have $191,000 in process, and you can see there's a little arrow right here. This is telling me what I need to close today. I need to get busy to reach my annual goal of $2 million. So you can give salespeople access to this, give them their goals, and they can look at it whenever they want. I can also use the dashboards to actually manage my work and my tasks that I need to complete on a regular basis. I can see here that I have some high priority phone calls, 22 high priority phone calls that I need to complete. And so just using that same scenario where we come out and look at it in more of a list view, I can click on that high priority list and go through and make all of those phone calls and get that high priority stuff out of the way. And so that's the dashboards in Dynamics CRM. One thing to keep in mind is that you can create a dashboard on any data element. So you're not limited to what comes out of the box or what's already there. You can create it for anything. Again, starting to replace reports. We're really seeing organizations move more towards managing exceptions as opposed to trying to look at everything and pull out the exceptions. If you use things like dashboards and views to identify the exceptions, then you can focus on those and let things that you don't need to worry about take care of themselves. So another way that you can access information in Dynamics CRM is through an activity feed, and this is really great for managers and individuals who are managing teams, maybe a sales manager or a service manager, to see what's happening. You can follow particular opportunities, accounts, and see what's happening with those accounts. Maybe as a sales manager, you want to see everything that happens for opportunities that are more than $100,000. You can configure Dynamics CRM to put information in your activity feeds for all of the opportunities that are over $100,000, and you can see everything that happens to them. So it's just a way for you to see what's going on. You can also go in and follow individual users and accounts or opportunities as well. So again, kind of moving away from reporting and just show me what I need to see. So let's do this. Let's go back to our leads. And I'm still in my Washington leads here. I want to look at all of my leads. And we're actually going to go through the process here of qualifying a lead and moving it into an account, a contact, an opportunity within Dynamics CRM. So I'm just going to pick Brent Jackson here. It's at the top of the list. That's what you get for being on top of the list. And this was a lead, again, that I imported. I imported a list from my San Francisco trade show. And there's a lot of information that I can collect, including contact preferences, where this lead came from. Maybe I should mark this as being a trade show lead. I can also look at all of the activities, operator error, all of the activities that I need to complete for this lead. When I imported this list in, and it was just an Excel file that I imported, it actually kicked off workflow that I configured for my new lead. So every time I get a new lead, it goes through this workflow process of setting up a phone call. And I can actually, if I want to open that phone call, I can look at it and, have a script here. There's a due date associated with it that's calculated as a part of that workflow. So this will show up in my activities as well. But we're just going to pretend we made this phone call. And I'm going to mark it complete. Now what's happening is it automatically created a follow-up phone call out into the future. So this is due a couple weeks or a week after, 10 days actually, because today's the 12th, 12. After I complete that initial call, then it creates a follow-up call for me. So that's an example. It's a very basic example of workflow. I can use workflow to update a record, to create activities, to move records through a process, to force approvals of specific activities in the system. So you can just use straight tasks for that. So anything that you want to automate or any process that you want to put some controls around, you can use workflow for that. So in addition to seeing all of the open activities, so these are things that I need to do, I can also view closed activities. So if I'm a salesperson and I'm going to make a call to a particular customer or a particular lead, I probably want to look at their record and take a look at all of the activities that have happened so I know, is there an outstanding service case or is there something going on that I need to address with this client or this customer when I make the phone call. So the goal in having these leads is to qualify them. And so I might go through a process where I communicate with this lead multiple times. I might visit them. There might be phone calls and information that I send them, emails. At the end of the day, what I want to do, though, is to qualify them. And you'll see as part of qualifying, I can actually create an account, a contact, and an opportunity. So I have the option to create those records. I can also disqualify this lead. Remember that if I collect the information, I can measure it and I can manage it and I can report on it. So if I am collecting that certain leads from a certain source are being disqualified for a certain reason, maybe I don't want to spend money again on that lead source or that referral source. Maybe I want to focus on one that's more successful. So Dynamic CRM will help you identify that. So I'm going to qualify and convert this lead and create these records. And so now you can see the only thing I can do here is reactivate the lead. So if I decide I want to put it back into play here, I can, but it's moved along in my CRM here, and it's become now an account. And I think it was called Lots of Stuff. Here it is. And so now you can see here, Lots of Stuff is my account. Brent Jackson is my contact. And it fills in here phone number and California and the state, any address information. This is all just going to transfer right over, as well as activities. Remember, I did not make that follow-up lead call. So it stays with my account. It also kicked off a new workflow where there's a new account welcome call that I have. All of the closed activities that I've done, every communication I've had when it was a lead flows to the account. So I get a full view of everything that's ever happened for a customer. So I'm just going to keep moving down here. In the opportunities area, you can see it's set up an opportunity for the San Francisco trade show. we're going to pull up a different account here. We're going to look at Al's Toy Barn because I know there's more data here. So again, I can see everything about Al's Toy Barn, everything I need to do. You can see here's my lunch appointment. Here I have an appointment for the 1st of January to review the account activity. That was created with workflow. And so I can, when it's complete, I mark it complete, it knows I completed it, and then it will move on to the next step. If I look in my opportunities here, you can see I have one opportunity. This came in from my Seattle trade show. One thing to keep in mind, and this is an opportunity for integration with SysPro, is that I can have inventory here in Dynamics CRM as well. So in my case here, I've got 10 of the Express Real-Timer at $100 a piece, so this opportunity is $1,000. I can also have, if I choose, I could actually, instead of letting the system calculate my forecast, I can actually make it user provided. And so in this case, it would, I would just drop the number into this estimated revenue. We at Socius use this, and we do the user provided. So we drink our own champagne. Again, I can see all the activities and notes. Here's that follow-up call. Here are all of the closed activities. So, and this is relating to the opportunity now. This came from the lead. I can generate quotes in CRM as well. And so if I look at this quote, it's in a draft form. Notice that there's a revision here. So if I activate this quote, which means I've sent it to the customer, if I need to do something else with this quote, I would need to revise it. And so it creates a process where you're looking at the different, you have visibility to the different revisions of your quotes. I can also, from here, create an order. And notice, I'll come to my products here, it's exactly what's on my quote, exactly what's on my opportunity. I can add additional items here on the quote if I choose to. I can make changes. Again, those would be revisions. But then I can create an order. And so it's automatically going to mark the quote as 1. It's automatically going to mark the opportunity as 1. It's going to take the value from the quote, and it's going to create an order. And it's going to push that order into SysPro for fulfillment. And then when SysPro has completed its fulfillment process, SysPro is going to push an invoice over to CRM. So you have full visibility of not only what's outstanding, but what's been completed as well. And there is some additional information that will come from SysPro. And right now, what I'm going to do, we've gone completely through our sales process. Hopefully you have a feel for how data moves through Dynamics CRM and some of the sales functions that you can do. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Brian. And I think that's what I'm going to do. Hold on here. So let's try this again. So yep, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Brian, and he's going to talk to you about that actual integration with SysPro. And there you go.
Okay, well, as I was introduced earlier, my name is Brian Mansfield, and I am the CRM Services Manager at SysPro USA. And today I want to thank you for the opportunity to let me show you some of the integration functionality that we've developed between our SysPro ERP product and Microsoft Dynamics CRM. The first thing to note, and I'm not sure if it was presented, I didn't hear right at the beginning, Dynamics CRM is available online or on-premise, so it can be installed locally on a server inside your network, or Microsoft or a third party can host that service for you, so it can all be basically available on the cloud. All of the functionality that I'm going to show you today is available for either of those versions, so something to consider if you're planning to move forward with CRM. When we started looking at the integration, we took into consider what information would sales, marketing, and customer service need to see from an ERP system inside of a CRM that would help them to do their job. And it goes back to some of those benefits that were explained at the beginning, the ability to procure new leads or move yourselves through the sales process or utilize some of the dashboard information to get better visibility into sales or invoice information. And so we went through, and when we started building the integration, we looked at some of the key modules inside of SysPro. And where we started was obviously with customers in accounts receivable. And the first thing people wanted was I guess we'll call it a single source of the truth. So if I went to CISPRO, I would see an address, a phone number, maybe a customer class or a geographic area related to a customer. But if I went to that same customer record in CRM out of the box, I would have to maintain that information in both places for it to stay up to date. So we developed bidirectional integration of all of that data, and when I get into a customer account record in CRM, I'll show you the fields, and there's definitely not a lack of fields. If you're familiar with our AR system at CISPRO, you'll see we've pretty much brought everything over, all the way from invoice terms to tax status to the management notes that you may add against that customer record. From there, we looked at inventory, and when we started to think about quotes, sales orders, and invoices and utilizing those functions in CRM, we figured you'd want to be able to use the stock codes that you've already set up in the CISPRO system. So we brought those over along with cost and price details, warehouse information, on-hand values and that type of stuff. So you didn't necessarily have to go do an inventory query when you're in your CRM product to see if you had any stock on hand. And all of this integration is real time. We then looked at the sales process. So obviously we went to the quotes, sales orders, and invoice functions within CISPRO, and you'll see how we bring that data over as well. And then lastly, for customer service, we looked at RMA integration, and I'll touch on that shortly. We're sticking to mostly sales processes today, but I'll show you some of the RMA details that are available in a customer service type environment. So if I exit out of here, I'm going to come into my system, and I guess the first thing to consider is what's the power that you can utilize in the dashboard function by having all this CISPRO data in your CRM system. And really the first place that it's going to be is sales information, and that information is going to be available right at your fingertips. So in this case, I've created a sales manager dashboard, and this sales manager in particular covers several regions. Here you can see we have the north, east, south, and overseas. And now just at a glimpse, without really ever leaving Outlook, I'm able to look inside of my system and see exactly how my different regions are doing and start to track those trends and look and get that visibility of what's going on. And here you can see the north section is doing fairly well. There's kind of an upward trend going in these ones. But over in the south and overseas, we're starting to see a decline in sales. And now this gives me the opportunity to start actioning upon this. So I can come over here, and you can see there was actually a loss in April. So I'm going to push this out to a list view, as we saw during the demo. And I can wait for that graph to load. And then if I click on that section of the graph, I'll be able to actually see what made up the values in April. And you can see that Bayside Bikes had a loss of $9,200. And these are orders that came over from my CISPRO system that I'm available to see inside of CRM. And if I click on one of these to open it up, I have true visibility. Well, I actually clicked on the account. Let me come back here and open the order itself. I guess we'll start with that. If I look at the order 800127, I'm able to see the order. Here's the PO number. Over to the right, I have the salesperson and any discounts that were applied. Because this was a negative, this came over as a credit note. So regardless of order type, we're showing you all of that visibility. Below there, I have the order status, and I'll show you this in a list view shortly. But I'm able to see if it is, status 1, a 4, an 8, or a 9, kind of in the warehouse, or if it's ready for invoice. And I'm able to track that all the way through. As I go down, here's the order value. Below there is some tax information, terms, and geographic area. And then as you go down a little bit further, you can see the dates, ship dates, as well as the sold to and shipped to address. As I go over to the left, here's all the products. So all the product lines that were on that order. This was a SER 200. And then to the right, I can see the quantity, the price, and the actual amount that was given back to them. Now in a real-world example, I saw that they returned 50 of these. While that's not good for the bottom line, it's also an opportunity for me to sell them some more. So maybe there was an issue in the factory or some problems that may have gone on with the product. So I can just come right into this stock code, SER 200. And now here I can see the information about this product. And I'll just go right to that stock code. And it's really just like I did an inventory query inside of CISPRO. You'll see we've brought over all the information from the actual inventory screen. Here's the stock code, description and long description, the warehouse to use, product class, part category, and as you go down you just get more and more details. If you're familiar with inventory query, it's broken into several windows inside of CISPRO: general, replenishment, production, etc. And we've brought over every field that's available inside of CISPRO. I'll also note at this point that any custom form fields that you've created in CISPRO is also available for bidirectional integration with any of these modules. So you can create those fields on either side and then push that data back and forth. As I go down, we can see if it's serial tracked, any ECC information. Here's the pricing information. This is coded, and I can see those prices that are available. Over to the left, as I mentioned, we also bring over the warehouse values. So if I scroll to the right here, here's my 3 warehouses, east, north, and south. And we've brought over all the quantity on hands, quantity on order, back order, etc. So I'm going to go through this a little quickly, but I just want to show you that there's no lack of information in CRM. The modules I explained at the beginning, we've truly brought over all the data that would normally be in the ERP system and made it available right at your fingertips. Now, as I close back out, I went to the customer record, Bayside Bikes. And one thing to note is Tammy did an excellent job at the beginning to talk through the sales process, that lead to prospect and possibly becoming a customer. And one of the things we did in that process is you're going to be working with your leads and prospects in CRM, and eventually you're going to want to push that up into CISPRO to become a customer. So we've created this concept of releasing an account. And if I come down here to my accounts, you can see this release flag. There's kind of yeses and nos all the way through. And the ones that have been released have a customer number, and this is a CISPRO customer number. Those have that bidirectional integration already applied. An account like Saranda here, if I open it up, via security and probably via a workflow that would send an automatic notification, specific users that have the rights can come up here and release this account. And what that does is it takes all the information from CRM, the name, the phone number, the address, fax, all the details, credit hold, credit terms, and it'll push that up into CISPRO and create a customer for you in AR. Again, just trying to minimize duplicate entry, duplicate effort on the accounting side. If a salesperson's already gathered all that data, why have them go retype it in CISPRO? Once I release it, they become linked up, and I can see all the information and push the information both directions. I'm going to go into an account that's already been released, Bayside Bikes here. And again, when it comes to AR, you can see that we've really brought over all that information. So here's the account name. You can link multiple CISPRO companies to a single instance of CRM. So we do put the company identifier on all these integrated records. Phone and fax, and as you go down, you get a bit more detail. Here's some FedEx and UPS custom fields I've created. Here's all of their sales history from CISPRO, previous year, this year, and this month, and then your 24-month sales history is also available. Again, this all becomes available in charts and graphs, and I'll show you how you can access and utilize some of that data in just a moment. Here's the general CISPRO details, salesperson, customer class, invoice terms. As you go down, billing information like their credit limit or credit hold. Here's date of last sale, outstanding order balance, a little bit high here for this demo. Sold to and shipped to addresses. And as we go down a bit more, you can get things like tax information, marketing information. There were so many fields that we actually made an extended function that allows me to open up a secondary window, and I can move these fields to the main window if I want. But we also have things like their credit checking method. Here's those management and customer notes that are available in AR. Multiple salesperson for commission, even all the way down to the EDI information or how they print out their sales acknowledgments or their order acknowledgments. So as I said from the start, there's really no shortage in the amount of data that we're putting on screen. So what do you get with all of this? Well, one of the nice things is you can run full reports inside of CRM to access all of this CISPRO data. And a nice way that I found to do that is, as opposed to just using your dashboards on the main screen, you could maybe go in and create an account-centric dashboard. So here I'm in the accounts Bayside Bikes, and I want to take all this sales information and visually have it make a little more sense to me. So I'll just click on this other form here. And you can see now that I've actually graphed out all the sales totals for them by month. So visually I can go in and see the information that makes sense to me as a sales rep or as a customer service agent, maybe in the cases here. And I'm able to see that detailed data that came from CISPRO in a more logical format, I guess I'll say. Let me set that one back so we have the data on screen. Now all of this information gets grouped and lumped under the account records or the relevant contact in the forms that are over here to the left. So if I want to see those quotes, orders, or invoices, they're all in list view, and I can also graph those out as needed by opening up the graph pane here. I guess I don't have any made for the quotes system. Same thing for orders and invoices. When you talk about quotations, we've given you two different options. You can create a quote using the CRM quotation system, or you can create a quote using our CISPRO quotation module. And for any of the integrated records, you can always get back to CISPRO. So if I'm in CRM and I want to go create a quote in the CISPRO system, right from the account record, we have a link to CISPRO up here that lets me create that quote. And you'll see I'll just click on Create. It says, are you sure? I'll give it a yes. The first time I log in the morning, it's going to ask me my CISPRO credentials, and it'll store that for me for the duration of the day. The next time I come in, it'll re-ask me for that information, and I'll be able to put it in the following day. So I'll hit OK. It's going to create the quote. It's going to actually log me into CISPRO with my CISPRO credentials, and you'll see it's taken me to quotation entry, a field or a form that some of you are probably familiar with. Just go through my standard functionality. I'll throw a stock code on here. I'm going to put in an offer, quantity 1, save it, end the quote, and end the quote, and close out. It is real time. When I say real time, it's about 4 or 5 seconds. So I'll talk for a moment here before I hit refresh. While we're waiting, I'll also show you that you do have the ability to edit these quotes, go to quotation query, or also confirm them to a sales order right from the CRM system. And I'll refresh it just so you can see that the data did come over. If I go back down to my quotes, here's the one that I just created. I believe it was 350. So it just pushes the new quote record over into CRM so I can action upon it, add to it, run workflows to schedule follow-ups, and just make sure the users are interacting with that CISPRO data as needed. Same thing for the orders and invoices. All of that data comes over. As I mentioned, you get your listing of all your sales orders, and here you have your order type as well as the order status. So there's no more need for an outside sales rep or anyone in the system to have to go and ask somebody an order entry or go search in CISPRO to see if their order's been shipped. They can just work in their CRM system, access it via the web or on a mobile device, and they'll be able to see if their order's in a status 9. And if you guys are writing the tracking number back as a comment or something like that, they'll be able to give that data to the customer as well. And again, just like we had with the quotes, you can create, edit, or query those orders from CRM as well. I didn't want to rush through it too much, but we are a little pressed for time. I guess the last thing I'll show you is the service cases. If I click on there, you can see I have several cases open. You'll notice 2 of those have CISPRO RMAs that are tied back to them. So if I open up the case, and I'll make it a little bigger here, you'll notice that an RMA number has been written back. If there was no RMA number up above here, again, I'd be able to create an RMA, but because I've already created one against this case, I can receive it or query it and move forward with that process. I think I'm using a bit of an older version here for this demo, but I should also be able to click on the RMA number itself, and CRM will store all the details of the RMA. I must be on an older server. So that's another new function that we've added, just like you've had with all the sales orders and quotations. You're able to see all the RMA details, all the lines that were added, etc. And I probably just actually created this record a bit older, but that's another function that we do offer. So it was real quick, but I just wanted to, I guess I'll go back and recap that we are integrating all the key functions that allow your sales, marketing, and customer service to action and utilize data from CISPRO and utilize the CRM functions to hopefully generate new sales, keep those existing customers happy through the customer service functions, and then market out to existing customers or new leads and prospects, either utilizing current information or sales history trends or that kind of stuff. So I want to thank you for your time. I believe we're going to open it up for questions in a moment. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask.
Yes. Thank you,
Right?
Tammy
Could you
and
make me the
Brian.
presenter again?
Sure.
Thank you, Tammy and Brian. At this time, we'll begin the Q&A portion of today's session. Just give me a minute and I'll unmute everyone so you can ask your question. If you could state your name and company you're with, that would be great. I believe everyone's unmuted. So if you have any questions for Tammy or Brian, feel free to ask them now. I think everyone's shy, or you guys just did an awesome job. If no one has any questions, but maybe you have questions later, you can always reach out to me. My name is Yvette Todd, and you can see my contact information on the screen. Otherwise, I'd like to thank everyone for attending. Thanks, everyone.